and then it slowly becomes like more mainstream and just kind of whatever. Um, and usually it loses the charm. Is and it's like you can see it happen. Even YouTube, when dude, the early days of YouTube. Some of you kids who are Gen Z won't understand, but the early days of YouTube were the Wild West. They were just insane. Oh, here, you know what? I'm having some problems over here with OBS. Let me. Can you talk now, Dan?
Hello, hello, hello. It's
There
me.
you are. Okay, you weren't coming
Hello.
through.
Hi.
OBS just collapsed. So basically, the first few minutes of our conversation, people aren't going to know. Dan was talking about his Swiss bank account, his gold
It's
doubloons.
true. I was. Come get me. Come get me, IRS/Interpol. Come get
come,
me.
come get me, IRS.
Come get me.
Yeah, that's your going to be your T-shirt. Um,
I was very happy to wake up today and find my lovely copy of Black Mirror waiting for me with the beautiful cover you did.
oh, hey, yeah, I think I saw you posted on that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I showed that off on stream earlier. I was like, hey, here it is.
Yeah, I remember joking with you about doing a Steve Coachman cover,
Yeah, it
and
came out great.
yeah, it was kind of like kind of a sketchy like I don't know. It's been fun working with microns. I haven't done that in such a long time.
For anyone listening back, let me see if these headphones will reach and I'll grab it. They won't. Hold on. Right here. Beautiful.
There's a little delay in the video, so I'll
I'm
watch
back.
I'll watch diligently.
I really enjoy constructing people's characters out of the available GIFs on Instagram when I stuff. It's very fun for me.
You are really good at it. You have a shocking talent for that. Like
For some reason, they have a blue skeleton. I don't know why. So I would always do Steve. I'd always do the blue skeleton with like a little crown emoji thing. But like, I don't know why there's a blue skeleton. But no, I love finding ways to make random characters out of what they have.
yeah, I don't know. It's something about like you as a concept art guy being able to like use the tools you're given.
It's very funny. I love it.
Because
It's
I don't
great.
have the patience for it. I thought about doing that, and then I was like, I don't know how to search for all this. I'm gonna just here's
I
a
posted
dancing
it.
skeleton.
Yeah, I posted it and I was like, I could have done a sheriff star too. There's so many things you can do, but
Well,
ah,
I appreciate it. I really appreciate the shout out. That was cool. I'm glad you like it too, because I was excited for you to get that. I had to like call the people doing fulfillment and be like, okay, this cover with this guy goes to this person.
I didn't even think of that. That must have been tricky. How many custom covers did you do?
Like three or four, and the others,
Okay.
yeah, so it wasn't too bad. Like, and you were one of the only ones that had where like I had something specific for you the whole time, whereas some other people I was just like, oh, this one would be good for this guy because I know he likes Spawn, so I did a Spawn cover, that kind
Oh,
of thing.
sure.
But generally, I think it's going to get worse as the book gets more popular. And, better, but also worse in terms of like the amount of things I'm going to have to consider.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
but I think it'll be fine. I'll manage.
You said a word that has me thinking. What do you think is going on with Spawn during this like comics renaissance for like entertainment we're having right now?
It's a great question. I know that for years he's been accruing talent for the Spawn movie, like Todd McFarlane, and he's been
Yeah.
talking about it publicly, like we got this guy now. Can you believe? And the talent, the people involved, it's like pretty incredible. The amount, like he apparently, I don't know, I like Todd McFarlane, but I take him with a grain of salt because he's got that Harry Knowles thing where he gets like caught up in his excitement and sometimes
Yeah.
um, but he had apparently signed on the director from True Detective season one. I think Cary Fukunaga was interested in doing a Spawn movie,
Well,
which is like,
dang. I
yeah.
wonder like so it would be a movie, it wouldn't be a series.
Honestly, if they did a series, it would be hard to not have it be just like Daredevil on Netflix because it has a
True.
similar flow. Like Sam and Twitch are kind of the same as the detectives, and but like people will still watch it. But I know that the movie he wanted to do is he said he wanted to do something that would be closer to like a David Fincher film.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But because I think he didn't want to do camp. Um,
I get that.
But it's like,
That'd be cool. I mean, that's a niche they haven't really done with the whole comics entertainment renaissance is horror. That'd be cool if you could actually corner that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there is a strong horror component to Spawn for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know his design. If you want to be faithful to the look of the character, it's like there's a little bit of camp that's just kind of you can you got to be a little farcical. You can't be super. If it takes itself too seriously, you run the risk of cringing.
There's only so many chains you can put on a character before it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only so many before it crosses the line
Yeah,
into a slightly campy.
yeah,
I don't know. It's so weird that original Spawn movie. I think it's just the CG was so bad at the time. I think
yeah.
that's what essentially killed it because the performances really aren't bad. John Leguizamo is having a fucking time in that movie as clown.
I think John Leguizamo as clown is one of the like unsung villains, like where
Yeah, he's great.
people really sleep on him in that role, and you can tell yeah, like you said, he's having a great time. He gets the tone, he gets the character. If that movie wasn't an otherwise kind of a shit show in some ways,
Yeah.
as far as the special effects, I think Michael J. White is a perfectly fine Spawn.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the makeup. I like his costume. I think the costume is really cool. I think the makeup on him, the burnt makeup, it's a little bit. I don't know. He kind of just looks like a sausage.
Like a looks like a Power Rangers villain.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm Ivan Ooze. It's like Ivan Ooze level of like this is very clearly makeup.
yeah. Well, it's
But
funny when you say Ivan Ooze. I can't help but imagine Oscar Isaac Apocalypse because
oh yeah, the best. It's so dumb. I don't know why they did such a thing.
yeah, they see like I don't usually be. I'm not usually like, oh, this should have been CGI, but like that probably would have been better as like a CGI character. um, or at least like heavy like puppetry.
Yeah,
But not to jump around too much, but what do you think of the? Oh, but to answer your question, I don't know. The Spawn film has been in and out of production for like 20 years at this point. But I just
I wonder if you're gonna ask me the same thing I was about to ask you.
oh wait, what was I going to ask you? What
You're
was the?
saying what do you think of the
Oh, why do I do this? I didn't even let myself hit the topic because it was something I was actually. Oh my god, it was on the tip of my tongue, and then I interrupted myself. God, that is you guys just witnessed ADHD in action.
I'm wondering if you were gonna ask me because I was gonna ask you, are you watching Daredevil Born Again?
I'm waiting for the season to finish to find out if it's gonna pull the rug out and be shitty.
I respect that. I respect it.
I'm waiting for people like you to tell me if it's good or not. After you get like 5 episodes in. Um,
Right now, I mean, I'm 4 episodes in, and it's mostly good. They're having a little bit of a tricky time nailing the balance of this is now in the MCU, so there's going to be some silly stuff like it's very like I'm struggling with my faith, and this person died, and it was brutal, and what am I going to do? And everything's very serious. And like,
mhm.
and then he goes into the courtroom and he's like, the white tiger can't use his powers without his mystical amulet. And you're like, okay. Like it's having a hard time finding the balance of like serious, super serious, gritty crime with there's mystical amulets and like Doctor Strange lives down the street on like Bleecker. And it's like, oh, like that's the only thing. Everything else is great. The performances are great. The writing seems to be very good. The direction they're taking the plot seems to be very good. Whoever designed the costume for Muse, who's a character I'm not super familiar with, did a great job. I'm very excited to see where they go with Muse as a villain. They actually called Bullseye instead of Poindexter, which is great.
Oh, that is great.
Um, the episode that has the Punisher is fantastic. The exchange that they have and the acting in that scene is quite good. They're doing like full PTSD Frank Castle this time. He's like a little unhinged, like more so than usual, which I appreciate. But yeah, I like the direction so far. They haven't quite played their hand into what the actual season is going to be about. Like full disclosure, we're 4 episodes in and he hasn't put his costume on yet, other than the beginning of the first episode.
They love doing that.
It's like a flash forward. He's like, I'm not Daredevil anymore. They're doing like the Spider-Man 2 of like, I'm hanging up the costume. And like we're 4 episodes in and he hasn't put it back on yet. But Yeah, they seem to be big fans of making serious shows where the characters aren't the characters.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I just kind of like stopped trying with anything that they make, because it's like like, even, you have Oscar Isaac for Moon Knight, which is
Yeah.
like incredible casting. Like, he's such a,
Yep.
and apparently I didn't watch that much of it, but I heard if you actually put together all the scenes where he's actually Moon Knight, it's literally like 20 minutes out of like 5 1-hour episodes.
Very, very little. Yeah.
Which is just, as a, as a comic book guy, it's just like, why? Why can't you just let me have this?
Also, it's like one of their best adaptations of a costume. That Moon Knight costume was
It's
fantastic. And
so
like,
beautiful, yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I think a lot of people just like don't trust them now, because they're like, oh, you're just gonna do it again. You're gonna bait and switch me. You're gonna make me think it's about him, and then you're gonna go on some other tangent with I think there's this thing where it's like, and I'm not, trying to dogpile on Disney, because I feel like that's easy to do now.
Mm.
But I do think, and it's not just Disney that does this. Some people seem to have this thing where they think that the marker of sophistication is inherently like making things more complex, like
Yeah.
having more characters, having more plot lines happening. Like, that's the mark of a very sophisticated. And it's like, I don't think that's true. I think that some of my favorite stuff, it's like pretty simple and direct, and like the plot for the movie Unforgiven. It's extremely simple,
Yes.
and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's an
It's
all-timer. Yeah. I think if I'm being completely honest, based on 4 episodes, I think what happened is they started making a season of Born Again, and I know that there was reshoots and there were rewrites because the 2 actors for Daredevil and Kingpin were going to leave, and they were like, "This we don't really have faith in the direction this is going." So they redid it, they retooled it, they reshot a bunch of it, rewrote a bunch of it, and I think honestly, what probably happened is if Daredevil's wearing his costume, it probably means that there's an action scene happening because having him just wear the costume and talk to people is kind of strange. So I think action scenes cost a lot of money. And with all the reshoots and rewrites that went into it, I think they had to penny pinch. And I think it's just cheaper to have Matt Murdock doing cases and stuff because you're just filming people on very cheap sets doing scripts. It's not like crazy action scenes. So I'm assuming the back half is going to have a lot of repurposed action stuff. But right now, it's mostly just A camera, B camera talking.
Wow. Did you ever think in your life you'd be hearing a conversation about Disney pinching pennies?
It's just easy to me that I don't know. Fortunately, the writing's been good enough that it's still interesting. The really leaning into like the legal procedural aspect, and the writing for Kingpin is actually I didn't watch that Echo show, but
Yeah, I heard they butchered him on that.
yeah, I didn't watch it, but I guess he's dealing with stuff that happened from that where like he's having like for the first time ever he's like doubting himself, and it's an interesting way to go. Like his marriage is failing, and it's like he's overcompensating for that by like running for mayor and shit. Like there's interesting stuff happening, and the writing's pretty good, but there is not much daredeviling yet.
Yeah, but I suspect that maybe the second half of the season they're gonna go ape shit, with having him
I
doing
mean,
stuff.
the first scene of the first episode goes pretty fucking nuts. Where like obviously the first season of Daredevil had that famous hallway fight where
Yeah,
they did the tracking camera from what is it, Old Boy? I can't remember.
yeah, kind of like Old Boy, sure.
And they tried to one up that in this by doing a full apartment fight where it's an uncut camera that starts at the first floor, goes to the fifth floor,
Sure.
and that was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, there is a new season. It's on Disney Plus. Spitboy. It's a continuation of the Netflix show. It's basically a season 4 of Daredevil, but they called it Born Again. But it picks up where the other one left off.
Is that Spitboy in the chat? Spitboy, how are you, man?
That is him,
How
the
are you,
one
bud?
meal.
I haven't seen him since we had dinner at your place.
Oh yeah,
That's the last time
which
I've
was
heard from him.
yesterday.
I kept looking for him in the chat for like months after, being like, "Hey, I wanted to, because I wanted to follow up, because I was, we were talking about a project he was working on. I didn't get to hear the end of it, or at least the bulk of He had all this stuff he was planning.
You
Not
guys
to.
got to reconnect.
Yeah, we gotta. You gotta DM me, Spitboy. I'll invite you to my Discord or something like that. I don't know, or I'll find you on Dan's. But
Yeah,
he's a nice guy. It was cool to meet him in person. But I'm sorry.
very
Yes.
nice, man.
So you were saying. So you would recommend it at this point?
Yeah, it's good. It's not I wouldn't say it's as good as the highest highs of the original Netflix series, but it's also nowhere near as bad as the lowest lows. So
Sure.
if the back half can stick the landing, it'll be very, very good.
Yeah, and maybe even though the ratings are really low now, which is not their fault,
Mm.
I suspect that if it's good and people finish the season, they say, "Hey, this is great," maybe it'll get a lot of viewership after the fact. One hopes.
Possibly, yeah. I think a lot of it is going to be determined by where is this going, because right now it's setting up a lot, but it's not really. It's sort of like in Watchmen when like you kind of see Rorschach here and there, but you don't really know where the plot is going, and he's just kind of doing stuff. Like
Hmm.
the back half of Watchmen is where like all the oh shit stuff happens, and you're like, this is all the setups have payoffs, and all the patterns have payoffs, and if they can do that, because we don't know what the fuck. Are you familiar with the character Muse?
No, actually, this is a Marvel character. Yes.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Rorschach. He's like a serial killer with like a white mask with like black blotches on the eyes. He's a street artist like Banksy, but he's a serial killer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And they've peppered him in a few places. You see his artwork on the walls everywhere, and you see him dragging bodies around, but we don't really know what he's doing or why he's doing it or how it connects to Daredevil. Um, but they keep dropping him in here and there, so we don't really know where that's going. And if that works out and pays off, then it'll be very cool. But who knows?
I mean, he's kind of like. I mean, he's a detective character, so like putting him up against a serial killer, they're kind of overdue for that because they.
Yeah,
I understand that it's like you can see why organized crime is such a popular villain um for superheroes because it gives them a lot of fodder to like people to
yeah,
beat up, and like a serial killer involves it's much more story driven. Um, where it's like you can only have him fight the same guy so many times,
yeah.
but yeah, putting a serial killer type villain in the midst of a story like that with that character as his opposition, that's like it's a good use of a detective style hero. You got to put him up in against stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and like you brought up Michael J. White earlier, but like they're also doing the thing with Kingpin where like he's running for mayor, and it's very Black Dynamite, where it's like Kingpin goes to all the mob bosses that he used to be in charge of, and he's like, "I'm the mayor now. We can't have crime. No more selling drugs to the neighborhood." And they're like, "But Kingpin, I love selling drugs to the neighborhood." And it's like it's this weird thing of like he has to like be a criminal but also be the mayor, and it's very push and pull.
I mean, that's an
But
interesting arc for him as a villain.
yeah,
Um, thing is, I don't even have Disney Plus, so that's why I'm waiting to hear if it's because then I'll join for like a month and maybe watch it or something if
yeah,
if I can.
I would just wait. I would just wait. But but yeah, that's all I have to say about that particular subject. Hopefully it sticks the landing and the back half is particularly good.
Was he a character that you liked before you saw the show, or did you like discover him through the Netflix series?
Muse
No, no, Daredevil.
or Daredevil. I was never really super into Daredevil because I never really understood his like power set. And then when I watched the Netflix show, I was like, oh, okay. The only comic I remember ever reading where I really liked Daredevil was there was a comic during Civil War where I can't remember who someone is taken captive and Captain America wants to like I can't remember. Someone wants to arrest him or do something, and Daredevil's like, "Well, you can't. He has civil rights, like due process." And he's like, "Don't do this." And he's like, "I have to. Like, I'm a lawyer." And there's like a whole thing, and I'm like, that's an interesting angle. But
Yeah,
it's the only time that I remember all the like street level characters, like kind of like Spider-Man when I was a kid, but all the other street level ones like Power Man and stuff, I was like, this isn't like epic enough. I need like people fighting Doctor Doom and outer space and X-Men shit.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, growing up, I like more of those more subdued street level characters because the writing is more like interpersonal. It's not like here's a galactic threat that swallows planets that this guy with nunchucks is going to fight. It's more like we have to make compelling villains that have character arcs and stuff. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
which weirdly, when Netflix had control of those MCU properties, I thought for the most part, all of their villains were much stronger than a lot of the movie villains. Like Cottonmouth was really well done. Purple Man was probably the strongest they had. Like the writing on Purple Man and Jessica Jones was fantastic. That first season of Daredevil was really, really good.
yeah. I thought
Yeah,
Kingpin was such an incredible villain.
yeah, he's great.
The way that they build him up before he actually appears is like masterful. It's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Um,
But yeah, it was very strange because I was like, oh, okay, they're like really, really sinking their teeth into some of these villains and having, really, really making them good actual characters on the TV side of things.
yeah.
But I couldn't even tell you who the villain is in Captain Marvel 3. Or Captain Marvel 2. I don't even know. She had a hammer, and I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, a lot of that I think comes down to the costume design.
Yeah.
The costume design has been so bad. It's so forgettable. It's so generic. They're so scared of like having things look even a little bit cheesy that they end up everything just looks like a party city. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's very weird. A lot of the villains, like I'm struggling to really I'm trying to think of who's like an iconic one that what's the name of the villain in Doctor Strange? He's just an orange Doctor Strange who's Mads Mikkelsen. I,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's like, what are we doing?
And what
Like,
a terrible use of Mads Mikkelsen. You could have saved him for
I
Doctor Doom.
know. In the concept art book for Captain America, the original one, he was one of the actors that Westbert painted as the Red Skull. They were considering Mads Mikkelsen, and I think that would have been a much better choice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would have taken him as Doctor Doom or the Red Skull for sure. I actually
I would have loved him as Doctor Doom.
yeah. And it's like I get that Robert Downey Jr., everybody loves him and he's probably going to do great as Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
And maybe he'll save their whole franchise cuz people love him so much. But
right.
I was just like um it's like I don't know, like you can recast him, but you can't recast Mads Mikkelsen, even though you already used him in a like
I know.
in a wildly forgettable role. you
It's
know?
weird because, like, is Robert Downey Jr. going to do an Eastern European accent, or is he going to be wisecrack in Los Angeles Robert Downey Jr. with a mask?
Oh man, it's funny because I don't know if I want either. Like I don't know that
Yeah, I
yeah.
kind of don't want either one. I don't know. It's a strange move, but we'll see.
I mean, the Russo brothers, I think they're in charge now, right? Are they coming back? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're coming back.
So they got to have something up their sleeve. I'm hoping.
Supposedly, Secret Wars was the thing they wanted to do originally before they did all the things they did. So hopefully they have a good idea for it. But
Have you ever read
obvi-
Secret Wars?
I'm familiar with it. I never read it, but I'm familiar with the plot of it.
Yeah, parts of it are really exciting. So I would love to. I mean, if they adapt it faithfully, they're going to have some pretty spectacular like set pieces, like the actions
I
of
mean, clearly, clearly, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be the actual Doctor Doom. It's going to be some variant bullshit, right? Like they're going to have to bring somebody else in.
I think what they're going to end up doing, and I'm not saying this is a good idea, but I think this is going to be their idea, is that RDJ is going to be like he's an alternate variant Tony Stark who becomes Doctor Doom. Like because
Okay.
that's what I suspect, but I don't.
If he goes the other way in Iron Man 1 and doesn't become good guy, he just becomes even more bad guy.
Yeah, I think that's. I bet you that's what they're leaning at. Um,
Do you think
but
he's gonna be like a dude from Latveria or whatever the country's called, and he's gonna be a king with magic powers, or do you think he's just gonna be Robert Downey Jr. from America?
I don't know because can you imagine him doing some accent? I don't know. Have you seen? I mean, I know RDJ can do a good English accent, good enough anyway.
I
Um,
don't think he could do an Eastern European one. I really don't.
no, I don't think so either. He's too
I
much.
don't know.
Too much of his whole style and presentation is about naturalism, which means being
Yeah,
very comfortable and like having him do it. He's not he's not some classically trained Michael Fassbender who's going to like disappear into a different culture. It's just not.
it's a bummer because like one of the cool things about Doctor Doom as a kid
Hmm.
was like he's magic and technology.
Yeah, it is really cool.
And he's like one of the only characters that does both of those and like combines them in weird, creepy ways. And
Hmm.
it's like, I really hope they like 'cause we've set up magic and like Wanda was a thing and like we have that now. And like I hope they don't just completely ignore that.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. So someone was this is I cause the thing I was going to bring up 10 minutes ago or so. I just don't remember anymore. I don't know. I cut myself off and now I'm gone. I'm gone from it. But maybe I'll circle back to it.
It's
But
okay,
in
but
the meantime, I wanted to ask you. There's been I saw an interesting conversation happening about the how the widespread complaint that Joss Whedon had a terrible effect on writing and culture
mhm.
because everybody's trying to do the Joss Whedon thing, the quirky.
Yeah.
And someone made a good point where they were like, despite Joss Whedon, like, he's not a good person, obviously. But
Mm.
putting that aside, addressing him as a writer, like they're like, you might be blaming him for too much because he did something that worked generally, and that what seems to have happened in the meantime is that a bunch of other people that didn't quite have his talent for dialogue tried to imitate
Mhm.
him, and they came up with this terrible. Because an example that I think they used was like, The Matrix is a great, kind of landmark in entertainment, and then it spawned a bunch of crap for like a decade where everybody's dressed in black leather and doing like bad kung fu.
Yes.
And like you can't blame the Matrix for that. You have to blame the really untalented people who tried to imitate it. So they're like,
Yes.
we should maybe give as a writer, they're like we should give Joss Whedon the same slack. Like, never mind him. I think it's great to pick on him now because like he's a piece of shit person.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, and also his writing was never good. It's like, well, no, I mean, like, cause someone was using Firefly as an example, which is like, have you ever watched?
Yeah.
It's like it's a show that I really love, and I think his writing in that is pretty great. It's that's just my take on it is that it has some really sharp character development, and even though it gets into the quippy Joss Whedon thing, he never quite pushes it over into like winking at the camera. Um,
I think a lot of it is my take on this has always been I think there was that weird period in the late 90s going all the way up to when Iron Man 1 came out, probably if we're being real, all the way up to when the Avengers came out, where comics were not quite mainstream yet. They were still kind of seen as nerdy things. And even if audiences were there to go watch the movies, the studio execs and the producers thought that it was still like the territory of nerds and there was a weird stigma on it. So
mhm,
I think Joss Whedon was essentially given a task by the studios of like, I'll use Buffy as a case study.
sure.
Like, take this thing that people are going to laugh at and call lame and that is for nerds and make it palatable to the masses. Find a way to make it popular with jocks, find a way to make it popular with moms that are looking for something to watch. And, you know, people that aren't nerds that aren't going to accept, the premise because it's inherently campy and ridiculous and silly. The easiest way to get that accessible is to add sex and to add comedy because everybody's horny and everybody likes to laugh. And then you end up with this formula of like, enter camera right, girl wearing shirt that's way too tight with like,
Hmm.
skinny jeans, does a flip, shows a little too much, adjusts her shirt, make a sexual innuendo joke about it from the guy that wants to sleep with her but can't. You know, immediately after a vampire fight with some expositional lore dumped that is, as the meter goes, think of it like video game meters, like your poison meter going up, and before it gets all the way to top, giving you the toxic effect, you have to take a remedy to reduce it. It's like as the nerdy stuff builds up, he has to add jokes and sex to reduce the tension of the nerdiness. Like it's this weird throttling of like, okay, this is leaning a little too lame. People might be getting insecure about watching this nerdy shit. Let's throw a quick shot of a butt in there. Let's have a girl, it's like let's add some humor so people can laugh. And okay, I'm not a nerd for watching this. It's funny. I'm watching a comedy show. And
Mm.
I think that was basically the task he was given, and I think he executed it well. And I think then everybody just ran with that.
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, so I think I would agree on some parts. I think that's why other people do it. I
Yeah.
I don't know if that was his mo when he did it. I
I
well,
don't know. I think James Gunn does it too.
well, yeah. You see, with James Gunn though, I think even though he sometimes bugs me, he does it in a way where it does feel like he's hiding the strikes a little bit,
Yeah.
where you don't notice that you're being manipulated to
Mhm.
also James Gunn, I don't find his stuff to be that nerd. I mean, it's like it's very frank in its appreciation of nerdy stuff, but as far as his plots and his like his his setup, he doesn't go full on nerd. Like he's not super into the like
Yeah.
it's like Joss Whedon will probably get more into the lore of something, whereas James Gunn enjoys a surface level plot just to like deliver some fun, you know?
With James Gunn, it's almost this weird thing where like it feels like with some of the Joss Whedon stuff, he's given the directive of, make sure to pepper some stuff in so it doesn't feel too nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
And with the James Gunn stuff, it almost feels like he's doing that for sincerity, where like you can't have the emotional scene without a joke being right there. Because it's almost like this weird fear of like feeling anything genuine or being emotionally attached to a moment. Like Guardians 2, I love Guardians 2. I love all three of the Guardians movies, but every time something meaningful happens in that movie, with one exception, the only exception is Yondu's death. Every other meaningful moment in that movie is immediately undercut with a joke. And it's
Yeah.
it's very strange. And I don't really understand why.
I think it's also this fear of making the audience uncomfortable in any way,
Yeah.
which is odd because I feel like that's a part of the experience of a movie is to like have scenes that bother you because that's what motivates you. You know what I mean? That's what motivates a character is like something terrible. So I
Give me
don't,
your yeah,
yeah.
give me your Joss Whedon take, because I think you're probably more familiar with this work than me, and I'd like to hear it.
My general take about which part? Can you be more specific?
Uh, why he writes the way he writes, and like where it's coming from, and like I don't blame him for that trend happening either. The trend is clearly directed top down,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, like because I feel like I've been with him a while as a fan, and then I once I found out he was like a monster, I was like,
yeah,
oh crap. But yeah, he. So my general take on him is that he, from what I've watched interviews, I've read articles about his stuff, and basically like, um, it seems like according to him, early in his career when he created Buffy as a character
mm,
he had a very specific goal, which was it was like his cultural answer to the slasher film.
okay,
So he's like, the 80s and 90s especially, you have a slew of movies about, and actually not even just the 90s. I mean, you look at the 70s, I feel like it's more like the horror films that are just like hot girl wandering down alley, like you're lusting after her, and then the movie will have her die horribly to like turn that lust into a kind of vindictive, killing,
yeah, yeah,
like almost like this picarism thing. Um,
mm,
and his cultural answer was like, I wanted to do. I think his exact quote was like, I wanted to make a movie where the girl's going down the alley and the killer's coming, and it turns out she's the one who's really dangerous,
yeah,
which is a really cool, like that was a pretty novice idea. That was like a novel idea was to like, create a teenage girl character who's like not a victim in any way. And actually she's like secretly a superhero who fights monsters. Like, but to not, he said he wanted to keep it in the youth language. So like, looking and sounding like a character from something in the 90s, like
mm,
the kind of, the idea that like that she would almost come across initially and kind of like there's a little bit of that bimbo culture,
yeah,
like Clueless, but then she's she's got hidden depths, she's actually quite smart, she's that kind of thing. um so I know that was his like his general approach with Buffy, and then I think once it started working he kind of applied it to like almost everything. um but
okay,
but I know that his aspirational thing was always to take aspects of like kind of postmodern entertainment culture and then mix it with like classical fantasy and hero stuff and comics and
mm,
um he said he had a feminist bend with his stuff, but after hearing about what he was like in private it's like, okay, that's not really
yeah,
he likes to
totally.
appear that way, but
Yes, it's a good cloak to wear.
yeah.
It's weird because like so the Joss Whedon directed movies for Marvel were what? What did he direct before the Avengers? Anything?
No, they actually offered him one of the single properties, and he refused. He said, "I'm not going to be a part of the machine. I want the Avengers. Give me the big one."
Okay, so he did Avengers and he did Avengers 2 and that was it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
Because
think
I
so.
think I'd say in terms of quippiness and humor, I think Avengers 1 is fairly flawlessly balanced.
Yes, it is a very entertaining movie. It never
It
fails.
does not teeter over that edge. It has maybe like one joke I can think of that didn't need to be there, but it's not like offensive.
Yeah, I think a really good thing he did in that movie was he has entire scenes that are just comedic scenes, and then once
Yeah, they're
that scene
great.
is over, he moves towards the scene and allows it to be dramatic. He
And the
doesn't,
comedy
you
is
know.
like informed by the characters. It's not just jokes for the sake of jokes. Like
Yes.
some of the James Gunn stuff is like there's a serious moment, it's emotional, then someone gets hit with a rock, and it's like it's not really like a joke. It's just like a Looney Tunesy kind of like thing.
Yeah,
But then the James, I mean you know what's his? We just said his name. Who
Joss Whedon.
directed the Joss Whedon? The stuff in the Avengers is really good because it's like the Captain America. Like I understood that reference,
Yeah,
referencing the flying monkeys. It's like that's because that's something. One of the only things people say in that movie that he would get from being from the 40s.
yeah, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good stuff like that. Things that Thor doesn't understand because of his elevated language. Like
Yeah, yeah, I know.
yeah,
I love when Thor's like, "We come here fighting like Bill Schneip," and they're like, "What's that?" He's like, "You know, those giant scaly ant." He's like, "Well, you don't have those
yeah.
here?" And they're like, "No." He's like, "Oh, like that.
Or
That
like
actually would
the
happen, you know?"
yeah, or like the he's adopted line is
Yeah,
great. Like there's a lot of really good stuff in that, and I don't think it crosses the line into silly. Um, Age of Ultron was there's just too much in the movie. It was
yeah,
never with that much going on. It was I my unpopular take is that I actually kind of like Age of Ultron. It's not. I don't think it's as offensive as most people do. I think
I agree. I enjoyed it too.
I think the big flaw was making James Spader try to. I understand why they did it. Making him try to act like Tony Stark, like it's Ultron is like programmed to sort of be like his dad. I get what they're doing, but it takes away from the cold, unfeeling robot that he needs to be.
Yeah,
And he's a little too funny and a little too silly and a little too human to be like spooky. And like I get why they did it, but I think it was the wrong call. And then there's just too many characters. That's the only other thing.
yeah. I think if I think it's almost like it felt to me like that part felt like subversion for the sake of subversion. Like, oh, you're
Yeah,
expecting a cold feeling robot. I'm gonna make him really casual and kind of likable. And I
yeah,
mean, I get that he wanted to make him charismatic to show why those two young people would follow him, like in a cult
yeah,
kind of way. But I actually think you could have gotten there by going a more traditional evil robot route where he's like, he does have an emotional basis for things, so he's very human in some ways. But like, I actually think a really good way to balance that character would have been to base it on Adam from season 5 of Buffy.
yeah,
You
yeah. I
would
could see that.
That whole
When I
persona is like really interesting to me. Sorry, go on.
when I first watched it, I was like, why didn't they just make Paul Bettany Vision and Ultron? I was and just put like make his voice a little spookier because like it would have been fine. Like
That's a
I
good
don't I
point.
don't know. Like James Spader's charisma is a little too dialed up for like cold, unfeeling robot. He's like quipping and making jokes, and he's essentially Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah, yeah,
which is the point. It's the point. It's why they did it. Is like it's the whole weird thing of he hates his dad, but he is his dad, but he's not. It's I get it, but it doesn't really work for that character.
yeah. Why it's also like he's like Tony Stark's creation, so he's like
Yeah,
got aspects of his personality, um, but it always felt like it was one of those things where at that point, Joss Whedon, I felt like he was starting to get really repetitive with his story beats.
yeah,
Um, like because I felt like when he did that with that character, I was like, I've seen you do this before. I've seen you do this a
hmm
lot. You do this with Buffy a lot. Like a lot of the
hmm
villains, they would go down this road of like, isn't it cool that it's a monster, but it sounds like somebody you'd be talking to, like at the grocery store? Isn't that interesting? Um,
yeah. Not for that character. That character, Ultron needs to be like the T-1000. It needs to like
yes.
it needs to be an unfeeling AI that is here to wipe out everything, and it needs to be like scary. It shouldn't be relatable.
Yeah, and I actually think they could have gone if he wanted to make him charismatic, they could have gone an interesting route and made it like a almost like a false messianic figure.
Yeah, I think that was cool when he's like talking about like I've been thinking a lot about meteors and evolution and God and what is all that stuff's great. I think if you leaned into that, it would have been good. I think if also if they leaned into the I liked the subplot of like he's trying to become the one thing he can't be, which is human, and he's constantly upgrading his body, and Vision is supposed to be his like final form, and it's it's like basically him trying. It's like Pinocchio, the whole Pinocchio theme they do very unsubtly. Of I want to be a real boy, and they like throw the song in and everything.
Yeah.
I think that was all good. I think the problem is that he felt like a real boy from the first time we saw him because
Yeah.
the very first scene he's in, he's like, I'm a puppet and I'm only strings and I've been asleep and I'm talking to that other guy. He was a good guy. He's like talking like a normal human from the start. Like
Yeah.
I the Pinocchio stuff would have landed way harder if he was just robot, evil robot man.
Yeah, and it would have been really cool and eerie if they had made him strangely almost innocent in that first scene where he almost comes
Yeah.
across like childlike, and then you watch him get creepier and creepier, and instead it's like
Also, like, imagine if throughout the movie he went from being more robotic and cold to being more human. So at the end, it's a genuine thing of like, is this thing a consciousness? Is it ethical to kill this thing? Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
it would have been very creepy. But I totally agree. If he was more like a kid at the start, it would have been great. But yeah, I don't know.
I suspect the reason they didn't go down that route of making him more robotic was because they were going to introduce Vision later, and if you do that, you can't really do that twice in the movie, or it gets very tiresome.
True.
Because Vision, I will say, the movie's not perfect, but their introduction of I thought Vision was so perfectly handled. I thought
Oh yeah,
that was
he's fantastic.
perfectly played. I think he's written beautifully. Like I
Yep.
love the way he's written. They made him so awesome. I love the idea that he's the final form that Ultron was going to take, but then they kind of take that and they make him a good guy. So then it's like him, like when
Yep.
he looks at Vision, and it's like the idea that he gets the name Vision because Ultron describes him as a vision of like what he would turn into, like
Mhm.
and it's like that I thought was cool. And then you get like
It's great.
he's like the last upgrade of this AI, and it's like a superhero. I thought that was brilliant. It was like I think that's moments like that are Joss Whedon when he's like operating at top warp speed. It's just like beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's very good at writing the Avengers fighting amongst each other too. They do that in both movies, and those are usually the best parts of the movies.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean that was obviously the best part of the Civil War movie too.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Joss Whedon is. I mean, is he done? Is he working on anything, or is he blacklisted?
I think he might just be done, and
Yeah.
it has not helped that Michelle Trachtenberg died
Mhm.
because um, she never spoke that much about him, but she did say a story that apparently he had done something, quote unquote, something that afterwards he was not allowed to be alone with her, like anywhere on set.
Oh
So,
boy.
so I'm assuming he was like coming on to her when she was like 16 or something.
Oh
So
boy.
yeah, but or I could be. I don't want to talk out of school. It could also be that maybe he was really mean to her, and he just. I mean, like neither's great, but one of them is a
Yeah.
crime, and one of them is just being gross and like entitled. But there was just other
Sure.
stories from even men on the set who were like, yeah, he was just a fucking asshole. Like he was just. Um, and I've heard some really weak defenses of his behavior from some of the shittiest people on the internet being like, yeah, but that's just when you're a director, that's just what it's like. You got to be a dick sometimes. Like, no, you don't. No,
You
you
really
don't.
don't. Plenty of directors are
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. You ever hear of Steven Spielberg? You ever hear
Yeah.
of that guy? He's actually
And
pretty.
also, there's ways to be a dick and not be hateable. Like Quentin Tarantino can be a dick, but
Yeah.
like the actors are never like, I'll never work with him again.
No. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. I agree.
But anyway, that's been our Joss Whedon segment.
Come back next week. We'll discuss Neil Gaiman.
Oh my god. I still want to know like what is that controversy? Is it like it's so I was trying to look into the details of it and it's so insane.
Yeah. It's not
But
unlike looking into the details of his case is not unlike falling into that web from Coraline with the big spider lady. It
yes,
just keeps going and going. You're like, oh my
some of the
god.
stuff I've never even heard before. Like it's like I've seen abusers and I've seen like manipulative, horrible people. I've never read stuff like this. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't understand. I don't understand why so many people get to that place where they get like talented. I mean, where they're talented and then they get powerful. And they're just like, I'm gonna just try to become gross. Because
Yeah,
I bet you he got worse over time. But that doesn't happen in a vacuum. I think something happens when you're really powerful and you have a lot that it's like you actually start to get worse because you just don't get confronted very often. So your
yeah,
behavior worsens over time. Um, which is tragic because then I think to myself, maybe he wasn't even always like that. Maybe it's just like all the praise, the accolades, the worship gets, goes to your head and you just become worse and worse. But I don't know.
yeah. It's like that weird phenomenon where lying can rewrite the neural pathways in your brain if you do it long enough, and like you start to not even understand what the lie is anymore because it's your brain is no longer functioning the way it should be.
I've never heard that, but that's pretty scary to
It's a,
think about.
it's a thing. If you lie constantly forever, eventually your brain will actually start to default to the lying, and it's
Whoa.
it's very very weird. But yeah, I feel like that might be a thing with certain kinds of fame too, where if you're treated a certain way for long enough, I think it starts to genuinely affect your perception of reality.
Whoa. Well, in that
But
case, I have to start telling people things that I lied about when I was a kid.
true.
Dan.
Your uncle didn't work at Nintendo.
No, my dad is not a race car driver.
Oh my God, how could you?
I'm sorry. We built our whole friendship on that.
How could you? You know how I feel about NASCAR.
I know. This guy can't go 10 minutes without talking about NASCAR.
I let you into my home.
I let you into my home.
Uh, you think they're gonna cancel Sandman, or are they gonna go forward with it?
I didn't see but they got one season, right? One season in.
Yeah, after the Neil Gaiman stuff, do you think they're gonna go forward with it or kill it?
That's a great question. I don't really know because in other situations, I mean, like some people were really really angry about J.K. Rowling, and HBO is still. But that's okay.
Yeah,
But I will say that's different because she has an ideological perspective that some people really don't like, whereas Neil Gaiman's like an actual. Like, J.K. Rowling never like beat up anybody or like tried to sodomize them with butter. So like,
true.
so those are two
Very
different.
true.
So I shouldn't. They're not comparable. I don't know. I feel it's possible. I mean, they're moving forward with a supposed Buffy sequel now, uh,
Okay.
where they're getting back as many people from the cast as they can.
Okay.
But they announced that right before Michelle Trachtenberg died.
Oh, it's
So,
unfortunate.
because it's like I don't know how you can make a movie without Buffy's little sister. She was such a fixture of those last few
Yeah.
seasons. Um, and Malka was really bummed about it too, not just because this lovely woman died for seemingly no good reason, but like also because Malka grew up watching Harriet the Spy. That was like her favorite movie as a kid,
Yeah. Harriet the Spy was good.
and that's like Michelle Trachtenberg's first movie.
And
Yeah.
how did she pass?
I get the impression it was something involving drugs because I think they mentioned heart attack, or whenever they say heart attack and it's somebody like under 40, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or she was in her early 40s rather, but
Yeah. Right. That's
um,
a shame.
yeah, it
It's a
is a
real
shame.
shame.
Yeah, and she didn't really act after Buffy, probably because she had terrible experiences. I would imagine on that show.
Mm.
She did some
I
things.
did. While we're on nerd topics,
Do it right because you and
I
I
do
never
it
talk about stuff like that. Go on.
through. I do have to go in a few minutes.
Okay, no,
Unfortunately,
that's all right, man.
we'll do this again before the week's over, though.
Okay, yeah, anytime.
Um, some new stuff from the Russos did drop about that movie, and I am very interested. Oh my God, they did cancel Sandman after season 2. There's no more episodes.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Anyway, the Russos. Thank you, Almathea. The Russos let slip that Doomsday is whereas like Endgame and Infinity War were the end of a saga.
Mm-hmm.
They said that this Avengers movie is going to be used as the beginning of a new saga. So I think that means they're going to kill a ton of people. That's the vibe I get is we're just gonna wipe the slate. We're gonna take a lot of players off the board is the vibe I get.
But they already took so many off before this phase started.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. I don't know what they could possibly mean by a new beginning though.
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe. I mean, it could also be interpreted as like, oh, we're going to give this this new cast of characters like an actual direction to go in, because right now it's like they're really just floating
Yeah.
around. By the way,
I
I
think
have to point this out, Dan. I know you meant to say Doctor Doom, but you said Doomsday. You crossed the streams with DC and Marvel.
oh
And
no, the movie's called Doomsday.
oh, is it? I thought you were referencing
Yeah.
Doomsday. Oh man,
No, no,
I
no.
thought I
No,
had
no,
you.
no. The movie it's Avengers Doomsday and then Secret Wars comes after it.
I thought I had you, man. You were like,
No man,
I was like Tom
never.
Hanks in Catch Me If You Can. Like I have you in the plane, and you get out the bathroom, and you.
What a great movie. What a fantastic movie that is. If anyone hasn't seen Catch Me If You Can, what an insane true story.
One
What
of
a
the
great film.
best movies ever made. One of the absolute best.
Oh, you're into The Flash? What do you mean? Barry Allen. And he's looking at all the checks. Oh, it's so good.
It's great.
So
I love
good.
it. I love the accents. I love the movie has such a wonderful brisk pace to it.
Mm.
It just it never. I love the John Williams score. That great little
Yep.
like it's brilliant.
Oh, one of my favorite Leo performances. One of my favorite. It's just a great movie. I can't believe that's a true story.
Yeah, and then he ended up working for the FBI, right, for like a decades
It's
after.
so good. It's so good. Anyone hasn't seen it, check out Catch Me If You Can.
Do yourself a
Very
favor
good.
and watch Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
It's like Spielberg is
Anyway.
so good and so prolific that sometimes it almost like hurts himself, because people will be like, "Oh, whatever." It's like, no, 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 it's great. And if it was made by a different
Mhm.
director, it almost feels like people would be talking about it more, because everybody just expects Spielberg to always be knocking shit out of the park, especially like late '90s Spielberg, you know.
Mhm.
But
I will let you pick. I'll let you pick the final topic before I farewell.
oh man, I'm not prepared for this. Okay, okay. Ah, that's what I wanted to bring up with you. It finally. Oh, how perfect to circle
Got
back.
it?
Yes.
Oh, well, don't lose it.
Okay. Did you know that the works of Robert E. Howard are about to hit the public domain in the next few years?
I had not considered that, but I suppose that would be the case.
And I think it's within 5 years. I think maybe 3 years. And there's
Mhm.
been talk about like, oh, anybody can do anything. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to do an edition of like Solomon Kane collections with illustrations, like an anthology of his stories, and like
Yes.
doing like a Kickstarter maybe with a bunch of illustrators that I like or that I work with to just do different, illustrations and like put up his stories, in like a nice hardcover.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I bet Dan would absolutely love to work on something like that.
Oh, 100%. 100,000,000%.
And I was just like, is that exciting to you to think about, or just in general, Solomon Kane like going public domain? There's good and bad elements of that, but like, I mean, come on, it's gonna
I
be awesome.
mean,
It's gonna be lit.
it's exciting to me because maybe somebody who's wanted to make something with it finally can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it would mean a movie necessarily or a show,
Yeah.
but like the fact that you could potentially write your own Solomon Kane stories or comics and sell them is pretty awesome. The fan art you could do, the stuff in the universe you could do. I mean, my ultimate would be if somebody really good finally made something like a movie out of it that was like true to form,
Yeah.
that wasn't trying to be like action schlock, and it was actually like it felt like those stories. That would be so exciting.
Yeah, where they have that beautiful macabre poetry and there's definitely like
Yeah,
action schlock superhero elements to it, but it's also like I don't know. I think he was a brilliant writer. His work is so sophisticated in its own way.
so good.
So okay, I would love to know. I know you need to go in a minute. You let me know when you need to go. I don't want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
If you had to pick like your director and lead actor for a Solomon Kane movie.
Oh God. I mean, I feel like it has to be the guy from The Witch, right?
Oh God, what an I can't believe that didn't occur to me. Yeah.
It has to be him, right? With the voice.
Oh, I thought you meant the director. I thought you meant Robert Eggers. But
I mean, both.
yeah.
I feel like him and the guy who played the dad in The Witch and Robert Eggers would be so good for an adaptation of that.
No, I think that's yeah. Yeah,
And
that
he's the
that
right
makes
age because Solomon Kane's supposed to be a little older and grizzled, and he's
yeah.
supposed to be kind of wiry and not like he's not muscular like Conan. He's muscular like he's like a pit fighter. Like he's borderline too skinny, but he's all muscle and sinew. And
The exact quote from the book from the one of the stories Robert E. Howard says that's about Solomon Kane. I'm going to quote this, guys. This is a very rare occasion where I can actually quote something exactly. It says his hatred of evil had worn all that was unnecessary off of his body, so that he maintained not but the lean economy of a wolf.
the lean economy. Oh,
Isn't that
oh,
badass?
it's so good. It's just the best.
It's so
But
good.
if we got like, I don't know, my dream team would be probably Eggers, probably him as Solomon Kane, maybe guest art director Guillermo del Toro. But that's a pie
Oh,
in the sky.
yeah,
Robert Eggers is a perfectly capable art director in his own right.
hmm
His visuals are stunning. So,
it's true.
but yeah, I don't know. That would probably be my dream. The only concern, I love Eggers as a director visually, and I love the way he paces movies. Do you think he would be able to capture the flowery language and the verbosity and the grandiosity of some of those scenes?
I think he would not have a problem with that. Where I think he would stumble is with the sort of binary morality of Solomon Kane,
True.
because I think Edgar's like, again, I think he's really great, but I do think that he really likes to, he's a modern day, he's an artist. He's not coming at it from Robert E. Howard's perspective, which was that of like a pretty, like the idea that Solomon Kane is a staunch Christian and that's like the motivation for a lot of his stuff. I don't know that Robert Eggers would represent that as it is in the book. I think he would probably try to make it a little freakier.
Sure.
And he might subvert that aspect of the character, which is like, whether or not a person's religious is not important to me. Like the art, what's important is that the character is.
Hmm.
And it's like I really think Peter Jackson's approach to Lord of the Rings was great, where he's like, yeah, I don't really need to put in my own feelings about it. I want to put in Tolkien's feelings, and it's like, um,
Yeah.
so I feel like if Robert E. Eggers were to do it, I think he would probably have a very different approach to Solomon Kane's religiosity. He probably would make it a little more of a, I don't know the exact wording, but I don't know. I think that that's where he would stumble. It's like the character wouldn't be the same.
Morally gray.
Yeah, morally gray,
Yeah.
or I mean, but the thing is, it's already there to make him interesting and flawed because he's really fanatical as a character.
Yeah.
So you can make him like a guy who's like, yeah, he's a hero, yeah, but also like he's a little bit nuts. You can do that. I don't know. I think Edgar's. I actually thought Cary Fukunaga would be great. The guy from True Detective season one.
Oh,
Um,
he'd be very good.
I actually thought Peter Jackson, if he were to take the approach he did with when he back in the heydays when he was making Fellowship of the Ring and all that with he and his wife, if they did Solomon Kane, they might do a great job.
Yeah.
Because he's great with monsters and action, and if he has a good script to work with or good source material, he could probably knock it out.
Now, would you want an adaptation of the stories that exist, or would you want something new?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Okay. That's a great question. I think every time someone wants to do a 2-hour movie adaptation, it's very hard to avoid certain tropes. Like the Solomon Kane movie from the early 2000s. I did not like that the movie tries to give him an origin that's not in the books because it's very generic.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if that's hard to avoid, and if you're making it like a 2-hour, film with like a certain there's certain expectations.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I would actually love to see. Um, I would love to see an adaptation of the actual source material itself. Um,
I would too. I wouldn't. The only way I could see it working if they didn't do the source material would be if they did like a later years Solomon Kane, almost like
mm,
Unforgiven, where like it's about him coming to terms with all the stuff that he's done, and like the one demon he hasn't fought is like doubt.
mm.
kind of thing. Like the world has changed; it's not super religious anymore, and maybe he's almost seen as a villain by some people for all the stuff he's done. I don't know,
Oh yeah,
but then you're skewing into territory where it might betray the author's intent. So I would probably not go that direction. I
yeah,
feel like that's the direction they probably would try to go,
yeah,
but I would
yeah,
s- I would like a source material. I would like just like an HBO prestige show, 10 episodes,
yeah.
couple seasons, each season a different monster. Basically what The Witcher should have been.
Yeah, yeah, but The Witcher was supposed to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree completely. I think that would be really fun. Um, I always thought Daniel Day Lewis would make a great Solomon Kane.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh my God. I would, oh, it'd be so good.
Yeah, that would it would be so good it would ruin my life. Like it'd be
He's
so
got the
good.
perfect face.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you just like it's him as John Proctor with just some elements added and some vulnerability removed. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I think, and the physicality of it, he would just nail it. And
Oh man, he'd be so good.
you can have elements of Bill the Butcher in there too, like a certain roughness and like a slight sociopathic quality. But
Yeah.
but I wanted to
Oh
recommend a
man.
channel to you. Sorry,
Yeah.
did I cut you off? Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
No, that's such a good, I'm going to change my answer. It should be Daniel Day Lewis, 100%.
Yeah, I also wanted him as the Shadow. That's what I always said. I wanted him as Lamont
True.
Cranston, but I'll take him as Solomon Kane because that's like my favorite character ever. But what was I gonna say? I did it again.
Recommend a channel.
Yes, there's a channel, and this is recommended to everybody listening. This channel called the Cybrarian, like librarian, but cyber in the beginning because I don't know
Okay.
why. But he's a voice actor who does audio books of and puts them up for free, and he does a ton of Robert E. Howard stories,
Nice.
and his Solomon Kane. It's like the best audio book. I love it. I listen to it when I'm working out. I listen to it when I'm driving. He does like a bunch of the Solomon Kane and the Conan stories. His Solomon Kane he's like the voice actor himself is an Irishman, and he has this
Hmm.
beautiful he has a voice kind of like yours with like this really rich timbre that I'm always a little jealous of because I sound
Why,
like
thank you.
well because I it's like anyone who knows I'm a very tall guy, but I have the voice of like a 14-year-old boy, so it bothers me so much.
Not true at all. Not
No, it's
true at
okay. I'm
all.
not even insecure about it. It's just one of those things where like I wish I had a voice like yours because I would do so much voice acting of my own comics and stuff for motion comics. Um, but yeah, he has like your kind of voice, but with this like really rich Irish accent. So when he does Solomon Kane, it's perfect because he does it kind of like Northern English, like from the
That's
countryside.
great.
So he's got so he does the final Solomon Kane story is Solomon Kane comes home, and the whole thing is
Mm.
told in verse. It's like a poem, a
I'm going to
rhyme.
listen to that on my drive right after I hang up.
Oh, I'll send it to you now. Yeah, it's great, and it's
Yeah,
just
send it to me.
and he's just like Solomon Kane sitting at a tavern being like, I've seen vampires dance naked in the moon, and he's got this
The
great.
vest. So good.
It's so
It's
good,
so good.
man. But listen, I don't want to keep you. I know you got to go. But if you want, we can do this again anytime this week or whenever you want.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow and Friday. Good talking to you, chat. Thanks for hanging out. Got some good progress done on this piece, and yeah, it was lovely.
Absolutely. All right, I love you, man. I'll talk to you later.
Love you too, buddy. I'll see you.
All right, chat. My friends, I actually also have to go. I got to run some errands while there's nice daylight out, but I'm going to be back on in the evening. I think I'm going to try, but I want to address the chat. What's up, Taco Force? Do you think people will still buy his stuff? You talking about Joss Whedon? Yeah, I think so. Um, Swapping streams for no reason, Edgar. No, what happened was the other stream just died. OBS crashed, so there was a lot of problems happening on that stream. I don't know why, but Kyle, how are you, my friend? Good to see you, Kyle. Kyle says, "Buongiorno, bellissima," Ryan. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to talk to Dan about Italy, but okay. Kyle, thank you for reminding me. When I'm back on with Dan, I think he said he wanted to do again tomorrow. So if we do it in a stream tomorrow, then he and I'll tell him more about Italy because I can't. I need to talk to somebody about it. I need to talk. It's incredible. I did talk about the St. Peter's Basilica as like I was thinking of Dan the whole time because he would absolutely devour that stuff, and probably a lot of you would too. Um, Thank you guys for showing up, and this one's a little shorter today. We didn't do the full 2 hours, but if I can be back on tonight, if I can't be back on tonight, then I'll definitely be back on tomorrow. So God bless you. I love you. Be good.